Let's look at the process of harmonization a little closer. Let's take things to the next level. You already had a very brief introduction on harmonizing on the bass. Let's add a little bit more color to our music and look at harmonizing on the melody. It has been said that most worship and praise music can be harmonized by using just three chords: the one, the four, and the five chord. And I want to explain the theory behind that and how it works. And then we're going to look at an example, and then we're really going to get crazy and look at some real serious chords. The one, the four, and five. So, for example, if you were in the key of C, that means whatever you were playing in that key, the matching chords would be the one, the four, and the five chord of that key. So, in the key of C, the one chord would be a C chord, the four chord would be an F chord, and the five chord would be a G chord. And those are the only chords you need to harmonize a song in the key of C. And why is that? Look here at this table of chords. And what you see here are the notes that make up each one of those chords. You should know this by heart with no problem. The golden rule of chords, all major chords consist of the one, the three, and the five. So the notes in a C major chord are C, E, and G. The notes in the four chord in the key of C, that would be an F major chord. That would be the one, three, and five in the key of F. That would be F, A, and C. That's an F major chord. And also the five chord, which is a G major chord. And a G major chord is what? The one, three, and five in the key of G. So that would be G, B, and D. So those are the notes that make up those chords, the one, the four, and the five chords. Now, if you look at those notes over on the right, you'll notice that those notes cover all of the notes of the major scale. We haven't left out any note. You look, we have a C, a D, an E, an F, a G, an A, and a B. We've covered all the notes in the major scale, so just by using those chords, that's why you can harmonize any song just by using the one, four, and five. Now let's generalize this and take this to the next level. Now we're going to take each one of those notes over on the right, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, and assign them numbers. Now we already know the numbers for these notes. We're in the key of C, so we've assigned them numbers in the C scale. C is note number 1, D is note number 2, E is note number 3, F is note number 4, G is note number 5, A is note number 6, and B is note number 7. And we see we have two C's, and that's okay. And we're gonna get into what that means in a bit. We also have two G's, but we've now assigned numbers to each one of those notes. And we're going to take away the fact that we're going to take away that second column indicating the chord, and we're going to look at this table with just the numbers. So we're going to talk about what it means and what you can do with it. We have now taken the table and simply reduced it down to just numbers so we can apply it in all keys. We know that all of the tones of the major scale are numbered between 1 and major 7. And what this table is telling us is that whenever we're playing a piece of music and we're looking at the melody, and we're, like I say, each one of those tones has a number associated with it. This is telling us that whenever we see a 1, a 3, or a 5 in the melody, uh, we have a choice to play the 1 chord. And it's also telling us in the second row that whenever we see a 4, a 6, or a 1 tone in the melody, we have an option to play a 4 chord. And correspondingly, last, whenever we see a 5, a major 7, or a 2 in the melody, we have an option of playing the 5 chord. Now you see, by looking at the table, we have a choice. Whenever we see a 1, we have a choice of either playing a 1 chord or a 4 chord because we see the 1 in both rows, both top rows of this table. And correspondingly, we also have a choice whenever we see a 5 in the melody. We have a choice of playing either a 1 chord or a 5 chord. So say, for example, we're in the key of D flat, and the melody note happens to be, say, for example, an A flat. An A flat in the key of D flat is a 5. So in seeing that 5, we have a choice at that point. We can play either a 1 chord, which would be a D flat chord, or we can play a 5 chord, which is an A flat chord. And we're going to see an application of this in just a few moments. In fact, you can use this technique if you just had a series of notes, just a single finger melody. Mary Had a Little Lamb. And all you have to do is just number the notes in any corresponding scale, and you will know what chords to play for that simple single note melody. I'm sure you've all been in your service on Sunday and you heard the musician play all of these beautiful chord transitions in your favorite hymn, and you probably wonder, where are all these beautiful transitions coming from? How do you create them? Because they're surely not written in the music. These transitions I'm going to refer to as passing chords. These passing chords are chords that are played between any two existing chords. So what you're really listening to is this cycle between consonance to dissonance and back to consonance. The passing tones or passing chords that you hear are what is known as dissonance chords. Chords that have a harsh, grinding, gnarly sound. And the consonance chords are the ones that sound kind of friendly and happy. So when you play these passing chords, it's almost as if you're going on a little detour, a little trip before you get to your final destination. And on this little trip, you can play one or more chords, passing chords, until you get to your destination. And that's that little box in the middle called the dissonance part of your trip. And then when you're done, you kind of wind down, come home, be happy, and you play that smooth sound. So, like I said, when you hear, those passing chords, they're on a little detour, a little trip, trying to make things sound sweet. While you are on this detour, playing these passing chords, you need to make sure that the passing chords have dissonance. A chord that is dissonant has what is known as a tension to it, a certain bite that needs to be resolved to something that sounds smooth. Chords that are dissonant, or what makes a chord dissonant, are chords that have certain tones in them. For instance, a chord that has a flat 2, a minor 3, a 4, a flat 5, or a plus 5. As soon as any of those tones are included with a chord, it creates tension and that chord becomes dissonant. There's another way for a chord to become dissonant, and that's by playing a chord uh, in a position that's known as closed harmony. Closed harmony is when you play a chord where the notes are not spread out. The notes are kind of close together. There are different ways to play chords. There are ways that you can play the same chord where you have the notes either close together or spread out, and I'll show you an example of that in a second. So, like I said, one way to create dissonance is to play a chord in closed harmony, where you have notes close together. Like, for example, if you played a chord where you had a C, a D, and an E, all those notes in a row, they're close together. Just by you playing a chord with notes close together like that, you create a tension. Or say you were playing a chord that had a D and an E flat, and the E flat was right next to the D. That's going to create tension, the fact that those two notes are too close together, as opposed to you playing the D and the E flat spread apart. And like I said, the other way to create dissonance is to play a chord that has one of those accidentals in it. Now, on the other hand, when a chord has consonants, it doesn't have any accidentals. It usually has the tones 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, or major 7. So as long as your chord has those tones in it, it's usually considered a chord that has consonants or has a smooth sound. The other way to create consonants is to play a chord in open harmony. That means when you're playing the chord, make sure the notes are as spread apart as you can get them. Like, don't play a D right next to an E flat, or a D right next to a D flat. Spread it out. Spread it out over the distance of an octave so that they're wide apart. Just by doing that, even though a chord may have some of the tones that you may call it a dissonant chord, by just rearranging how you play the notes and spread them out, it causes the chord to have less dissonance and almost become consonant. So let's take a look at the big picture here. Normally when you're playing a song, normally there are no passing chords, so you're just playing consonants or chords that have minimal accidentals. It's not till you take this detour where you play these passing chords that have this tension or dissonance. And this dissonance, remember, it needs to be resolved. When you play these tones, a flat 2, a minor 3, a 4, a flat 5, or a plus 5, those tones create that tension, that it's an instability in the chord. And the chord really wants to resolve and remove that tension. Like, for example, that minor 3 doesn't want to be there. It wants to resolve to just a plain 3. The flat 5 doesn't want to be there. It wants to be just a plain 5. So that tension needs to be resolved. And as you resolve the tension as you play, you come back to the position of consonants. So what you're hearing again in your Sunday service, when you hear all those beautiful transitions in passing chords, you're hearing that cycle between consonants, the detour to dissonance, and back to consonant. You're hearing that cycle go round and round. Now what you need to do is now you're going to pick passing chords. And the thing you need to remember in choosing a chord that's going to be a passing chord, you need to make sure that it has closed harmony, or it has one of the accidentals that I just mentioned. If it doesn't meet those requirements, it's not going to fit as a passing chord.